Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back, and I know you are probably thinking, is she ever coming back? Yes, actually, I am. I'm here, and so are you. So let's get started. I apologize for having to take the last couple days off my back. I was moving some furniture that I shouldn't have been moving, and well, I think you can probably surmise the rest of the story. So anyway, I am feeling better, not 100% yet, but I have another appointment tomorrow with my back doctor, and I'm hoping that that will fix me up for a little while anyway. All right, well, tonight we are going to get into, actually I have the wrong one pulled up here. We're going to do the news first because it's been a while since I've done just news. So we're going to do that. Then I want to get us caught up to date with the Q post. If I still have time left and still feeling okay, then I'll go on to the third video tonight. All right, well, let's get started. I have some people to thank, but I'm going to do that at the end. I really appreciate everyone who supports me via Patreon, sends me mail, and buys me coffee. I really appreciate it. It keeps this channel going because, of course, you know, we don't have any advertising here, and hopefully never will. So that is it. Let's get started. All right. Now, this may seem a little bit old to you. There is some new news, like hot and fresh news, but there are some older, well, a couple days old, items as well, because I haven't been posting. But hopefully most of this will be new news to you. Well, here's hoping anyway. All right, so here is our first item, and it says, this is from February 22nd, so this is yesterday's news. But DHS whistleblower against Obama administration, Philip Haney, found dead, shot, and killed. Well, let's go down and see what this is about. DHS whistleblower Philip Haney was found dead on Friday. The whistleblower against the Obama administration was shot dead near his vehicle in California. Haney told Sean Hannity in 2016 that he was ordered during the Obama administration to scrub the record of Muslims in the U.S. with terrorist ties. Yeah, that's a huge deal. The story of his death has still not been reported by the mainstream media. Can't imagine why, can you? The Gateway Pundit was notified of this last night. Haney has been missing since Wednesday. Philip Haney said political correctness during the Obama years killed the investigation that might have stopped the San Bernardino Christmas terrorists. Law enforcement today reported, we've received reports that Philip Haney, a DHS whistleblower on the Obama administration, has been found dead. We have not yet received independent confirmation from the Sheriff's Department, but sources within law enforcement have verified that there's a death investigation underway. If you have seen a few episodes of Behind the Uniform or have ever watched Fox News, you probably recognize the name Philip Haney. He was the DHS whistleblower that dropped the hammer on the Obama administration regarding the Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS. He was also a friend to many at Law Enforcement Today. We have an exclusive interview with him at the bottom of the article that was conducted on Behind the Uniforms before his death. And this by Andrew Boston, DHS whistleblower on Obama administration, terrorism in America, found dead. The current indications point to him being shot to death. Yeah, bullet holes will usually, bring that sort of indication. San Francisco, California, we've received reports that Philip Haney, a DHS whistleblower on the Obama administration, has been found dead. We have not yet received independent confirmation from the Sheriff's Department, but sources within law enforcement have verified that there's a death investigation underway. Multiple sources tell us that Philip's body was discovered outside San Francisco, California last night. The current indications point to him being shot to death. It is unclear when it happened or how. The details are still emerging. As soon as we have more information, we will provide an update. Friends of Haney told us they had spoke with Haney earlier this week, and he'd never been happier. They've suggested there's absolutely no way he would have taken his own life, and reinforced that he's had many enemies since he blew the whistle in the Obama administration. No doubt. Close friends of Haney tell us that his wife lost her battle with cancer in 2019. Haney was engaged to be married later this year. The author of See Something, Say Something was prepared to go back on the road in advance of the upcoming election. He was currently living in California, just west of San Francisco. In 2018, Haney told Intercessors for America prayer activists that he had been working on a special assignment in Minnesota to stop Representative Keith Ellison from being elected Minnesota's Attorney General. As we approached the 2020 elections, friends of Haney told us he was planning on doubling down on efforts to protect America from progressive leftist socialists. So I think we have a good idea, at least, which side did him in. Obviously the Republicans would have no reason to kill him, and perhaps it was not even related to this, but I would find that very, very unlikely. Excuse me. That's good coffee. I don't care what anybody says. All right, and here it says R.I.P. Philip Haney. So these are all tweets about it. And down here he said that they had a, I don't see it. I'm still not seeing it. So I don't know where that that interview was, but regardless, I think that we have what we need for that, but I'll keep an eye out for when it is officially ruled a homicide and if there are any leads, which I would probably doubt that there are. These people, the people that do this kind of thing, they're very good at what they do. All right, let's go back now. And where am I? I'm right here. All right. Well, let's look at this. Kevin Shipp, whistleblower Phil Haney shot dead last night. I knew Phil. He was exposing the penetration of the U.S. government by Islamic cultural jihadists. He was instrumental in exposing Keith Ellison and Obama's concealment of racial Islam in America. So I think it's probably safe to say that he was murdered, although they're not going that far yet because the results are not even, they're saying that he was shot to death, but doesn't say whether it's a homicide. I would assume that it is because his friends say he was never happier and, was getting married earlier this year. That's not really somebody that would be likely to off themselves. Plus, he had a mission in life. He had a call, a mission. So I just think it's obvious it was homicide. All right, now let's look at this. And again, this is a little bit old, a couple days anyway. Well, maybe not. This says Sunday the 23rd, but that can't be right. That can't be when it was written. And it doesn't say. Oh, the 20th of February. Okay, so this is 3 days old. Sorry about all the ads on here. This is one of those websites with a paywall. And if you don't not a paywall, but if you don't disconnect your ad blocker, well, you can't do it. So Roger Stone, 67, arrived at Washington Federal Court with his wife, Nydia. I hope that's how she pronounces her name, for sentencing hearing Thursday. Federal Judge Amy Berman Jackson said his punishment for lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstruction will be 40 months in prison. But because he is asking for a retrial over claims of bias by the jury foreperson, the sentence will not take effect. Berman Jackson, an Obama appointee, said she had rejected prosecutors' demand for 9 years on her, not because of outside pressure. That was a reference to Trump, who had raged about the initial demand and for whom a 40-month sentence can be portrayed as a win. Judge issued a stunning rebuke, not just of Stone, but of Donald Trump himself for trying to interfere in the case. Case has plunged Attorney General Bill Barr into crisis as he pleaded with Donald Trump to stop tweeting about it, and President refused. Within an hour of his arrival, Trump was tweeting again about the case, this time suggesting the prosecution was unfair. He claimed James Comey had lied to Congress but was not prosecuted. Trump called himself the nation's chief law enforcement officer, and Barr was reported to be considering resigning. Now, if you believe that, I've got some swampland to sell you, because there's no way. They leak things and put things out there to make it appear a certain way, but that's not what's happening. I can assure you that Trump and Barr are not feuding in any way, shape, or form, but they're putting that out there to make it seem as if they are, for reasons that I'm sure are pretty obvious, because when Barr comes down on the people with the sealed indictments and the swamp, they don't want everyone saying, oh, but he's in Trump's back pocket, So I think that's why they're doing it. I believe that very strongly. All right. So I'm not going to read all this, but I will read the first part. Roger Stone swerved a federal prison cell Thursday despite a judge slapping the longtime Donald Trump ally with a 40-month sentence for lying to Congress and savaging not just him, but the president. Stone was convicted last fall of lying to lawmakers over his efforts to procure stolen Democratic Party emails from WikiLeaks in 2016 to boost Donald Trump's chances of becoming president. The self-declared political dirty trickster was spared immediate incarceration Thursday, while U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson decides whether or not to grant his request for a retrial. The sentence was far below the 9 years demanded by the prosecutor before that was overruled in a political tumult and furious tweets by Trump. And let's come down here. All right. Well, I think, and here we've got, now this is not the most unbiased news source that's out there by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm not even going to get into this because it's bias. So let's move on. All right, I can't remember what this is, but it must be something good. Or maybe not. Who knows? Oh, yes. Who else is guilty of lies? IG proves Schiff has been lying about Spygate since beginning. The Inspector General's Pfizer report proved nearly every sentence wrong in Representative Adam Schiff's last high-profile report. His work is useless. Now, let's go take a look at this. And excuse me while I drink some coffee because I need it. I need it, I want it, I have to have it. And inside this cup, you probably can't see it, but it says cat lady. I think you have to have 3 cats to be considered a cat lady, so I am not a cat lady. I am one who loves cats. All right, let's look at this. And on Friday, Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee approved 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump. My gosh, how old is this? Did I dig up something from... Oh my gosh, it's from December. We already know that stuff. Somebody snuck that in there. Probably one of the cats. Yeah, they do things like that to embarrass me. All right, let's look at this. This is from February 21st, so this can't be that old. Harmfully misleading, Twitter tests warning labels on world leaders' tweets. Now, if you haven't heard about this, this is, well, I'd like to say unbelievable, but nothing is unbelievable anymore. All those things that for all those years I said, unbelievable. Well, now it is quite believable because our world has changed. And apparently this is the new normal. Harmfully misleading, Twitter tests warning labels on world leaders. Twitter is reportedly testing colorful labels on tweets from politicians and world leaders if the site determines the post contains lies or misinformation, which they will claim every single tweet of Trump contains lies or misinformation. Now, we know them, and that's exactly what they'll do. In leaked screenshots, a bright orange label describes tweets as harmfully misleading. Oh, and Twitter, I guess, is the judge and jury of all. If they say it's Harmfully misleading? Oh, it must be. Yeah. NBC News reports that social media site Twitter is experimenting with a feature that would add bright orange and red labels beneath the tweets of politicians. The labels would be added if Twitter decides the post is misleading or a lie. The potential feature would see alleged disinformation posted by public figures on the platform corrected by fact checker and journalists who have been verified on Twitter. The feature is still experimental, but it's possible that other users will participate in the Community Reports program, which the demo claims is like Wikipedia. Right, and you know that it says a potential feature would see alleged disinformation posted by public figures on platform corrected by fact checker and journalists who have been verified. Now, you know that there are no Republican journalists and so forth, or alternative media that have been verified by Twitter, so you know they won't be involved in it. So again, this will just be one big bias soup of disinformation on Twitter. Yeah. So, and we know that you know what they're if the politician is left leaning, they'll be left alone. If they're right leaning, they will be, you know, all their tweets will be, you know, disinfo, harmful, whatever, harmfully misleading. So we already know that that is how it's going to go, because that's how it has been going in all social media for the last, my gosh, it's been over a year, and it's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. Anyway, Twitter spokesperson told NBC News, we're exploring a number of ways to address misinformation and provide more context for tweets on Twitter. Misinformation is a critical issue, and we will be testing many different ways to address it. Now, here's something that maybe Twitter should consider. How about leaving it up to us, the people that are using your platform, to decide whether it's misinformation or not? How about letting us decide what we want to view and what we don't want to view? Gee, that's a novel concept, isn't it? I'm tired of being treated like I'm in kindergarten having my hand held. Oh, don't read that. It might upset you. Not sure if that's true. You better steer away from that. Come on. We're adults, and we're not even allowed to view what we want to view. And we can't hear from the news organizations that we want to hear from, because that's considered harmfully misleading. The demo shows tweets from politicians with large orange banners below reading harmfully misleading. Examples of how this system would work, including badges attached to tweets from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Senator Bernie Sanders, and a tweet from author Anan, I can't pronounce that name, but it's an author with a name starting with A and ending with, and a last name starting with R. There you go. Thank you, no charge for that. NBC News, Twitter is experimenting with adding brightly colored labels directly beneath lies and misinformation posted by politicians and public figures, according to a leaked demo of new feature sent to NBC News. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, and it's interesting that they're doing this right before an election. Yeah, no, you're not transparent at all, Twitter. Gosh. The leaked demo features bright red and orange badges for tweets that have been deemed harmfully misleading, in nearly the same size as the tweet itself and prominently displayed directly below the tweet that contains the harmful misinformation. So I'm not sure if I can make that any bigger. No, I can't. So let's go back here and come down. The experimental policy comes just as the 2020 election season ramps up. Oh, that must be a coincidence, right? No. With Twitter playing a key role in the spread of political information, last month Twitter announced in a blog post relating to the media on its platform that it would be banning any synthetic or manipulated media that is likely to cause harm. One version of the demo of the new badge system for information notes that Twitter users could earn points and community badge if they contribute in good faith and act like a good neighbor and provide critical context to help people understand information they see. How long do you think it's going to be before we have a social credit score like they have in China? Not long. We're well on our way. Together, we act to help each other understand what's happening in the world and protect each other from those who would drive us apart, the demo states. Oh, I want to gag. Twitter spokesperson reiterated to NBC that the community reporting feature is just one of several versions of the program that will be launched in the next few weeks. This is a design mock-up for one option that would involve community feedback, the spokesman said. Well, isn't that special? Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back now and see what else we can get into here. This by Donald Trump. The decision not to prosecute Andy McCabe is utterly inexplicable. Now, he's saying that, but is that what he really feels? I don't think so, because Q has told us that we're saving for a slam dunk. So there's more charges coming for little Andy McCabe. Yes, plaything for Lisa Page. Yes, she had an affair with both Andy and Peter Strzok. Yeah, I'm not even going to comment on that. I'd like to. I really, really want to, but I'm not. All right, and this, Wyatt, austere, deplorable. Q is a dissemination vehicle. I love this definition because Laws Windsor said, what the hell is QAnon? And Wyatt, austere, deplorable, answers, awesome answer, Q is a dissemination vehicle or back channel to expose nuggets of truth about the corrupt nature of our history over time to the public in order to build a grassroots movement that will help support in the overthrow of a powerful group of criminals called the cabal. And that is a wonderful definition, and it's a great definition if you have friends and neighbors and so forth that ask you, what is QAnon? You can answer that. That's an awesome answer. That contains everything. All right, and let's go on. Right, this is big news as well. This from The Hill. Trump signs order diverting water to California farmers against state wishes. For that, I'm very, very, very grateful to Trump. He is awesome. That is where the water needs to go, to the farmers. And all the ridiculous reasons why it was being diverted
We're determined to finally get your problem solved. The state's not doing anything to help, but hopefully they will eventually come along. Now that they're rationing water for people, they're saying you're going to get, very shortly, I heard the governor saying, you get 50 gallons. 50 gallons sounds okay. People tell me it's like nothing. By the time you do with your showers and your hands and your dishes and everything, 50 gallons is very, very little. Can you imagine a state being rationed when you have millions and millions and millions of gallons being poured out into the Pacific Ocean that you could have, and you'd have more water than you knew what to do with? It's crazy.
It is crazy. So this is him signing. Now, this is a big deal, and that's very sweet of him to give that pen to that young boy. He'll remember that always and probably have it the rest of his life. All right, let's come down here. President Trump on Wednesday signed an order in California to re-engineer hang on here, to re-engineer the state's water plans, completing a campaign promise to funnel water from the north to a thirsty agriculture industry and growing population further south. The ceremonial order comes after the Department of the Interior late last year reversed its opinion on scientific findings that for a decade extended endangered species protections to various types of fish, a review that has been spurred by the order from Trump. Trump said the charges to be outdated Trump said the changes to the outdated scientific research and biological options would now help direct as much water as possible, which will be a massive amount of water for the use of California farmers and ranchers. A major obstacle to providing water for the region's farmer has now been totally eliminated by the federal government, Trump said Wednesday in Bakersfield, California, flanked by House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Representative Devin Nunes, as well as Interior Secretary David Bernhardt, who helped shepherd the changes to the state's water policy. Trump's order comes as the state has taken several steps to deal with the water scarcity that has lasted for decades. It would be different if you had a drought, Trump claimed, despite concerns the state may be headed into another drought. You don't have a drought, you have tremendous amounts of water. The state is expected to fight the order. Now, why on earth would the state fight that order? Why? Why would you not want your farmers and ranchers to have water? Why? That's a very good question, isn't it? California won't allow the Trump administration to destroy and deplete our natural resources. California, you know what? You know the thing with water is it replenishes itself. Yeah. So taking water is not taking natural resources. You know, just in case you people were wondering. And I know that the listeners here are not wondering at all. I think they're seeing right through this because they're pretty smart people. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra said in a statement after the speech, "We're prepared to challenge the Trump administration's harmful attack on our state's ecosystems and environment." Yes, right. Water is going to ruin the ecosystems and environment. Right. Okay. Whatever. Critics fear the new plan, which would allow large quantities of water to be diverted from the San Francisco Bay Delta to the Central Valley in order to irrigate farmland, which would ultimately harm Chinook salmon and the Delta smelt, a finger-sized fish that for 3 decades has stood in the way of the diversion. And Trump in October 2018 had ordered Interior to reconsider the scientific evidence that helped bar redistribution of the state's water. In October of last year, Interior released a new biological option limiting the long-time protections for the fish. During Wednesday's speech, Trump gave repeated kudos to Bernhardt, who has been mired in controversy for his past work for Westland's Water District, one of the groups pushing to expand water access for Central California's agricultural industry. Reporting from the New York Times found that Bernhardt continued to work for Westlands as late as April 2017, the month he was nominated to his previous role as Deputy Secretary of the department. He filed paperwork to end his status as a federal lobbyist in November 2016. Interior said Bernhardt had engaged in various legal services to support Westlands, but not lobbying. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all this, but this last is wonderful. This last paragraph here says, McCarthy also praised Trump for fulfilling his campaign promise to divert more water to farmers in California. Isn't it great to have a president who understands farming is not easy? Unlike Bloomberg, who said, well, you know, you drop a seed in the ground and, you know, up comes the corn or whatever he said. I don't know what he said, but it was something to that. It was very, very insulting to farmers. Very insulting to farmers. If it wasn't for farmers, we'd all be dead. Well, maybe not all of us, but a good portion of us. So isn't it great to have a president who understands farming is not easy? He said before the president came on stage. Isn't it great to have a president who keeps his promises? Absolutely. And you know what? I think that we're not used to having a president that keeps his promises. And it doesn't surprise me every time. It just makes me appreciate this man. Anyway, let's go back and see what other things that we can get into here. Oh, that's the wrong one. That is the, here we are. All right, let's look at this. Again, I'm not sure what this is, but I bet it's good. Or not. Yes, I love this. Now, not a fan of Elizabeth Warren, not by any stretch of the imagination. And it would be a very, very, very long stretch of the imagination, but listen to her here. You will appreciate this, I'm pretty sure.
I've been nice to some women. That just doesn't cut it. The mayor has to stand on his record, and what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is
Let me
that?
finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me just put.
Yeah, we know what some of his, how bad his jokes are.
Parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
So wait, when you say it is up to, I just want to be clear. Some is how many? And when you say they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about what it is they allege, that's now okay with you? You're releasing them on television tonight?
Senator, no.
Is that right?
Senator, the company and somebody else, in this case, a man or a woman, or could be more than that, they decided when they made an agreement that they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. They signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to live with.
I'm sorry. No, the question is, are the women bound by being muzzled by you? And you could release them from that immediately, because understand,
he's not even
this is
answering
not
the
just a question of the mayor's character. This is also a question about electability. We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against.
You know, that's a side of her that I've never seen. And if she were actually, if she had integrity and was, you know, and hadn't lied about being an Indian, well, then I think that she could have been a contender. Now, don't think she would ever beat Trump. No, not in a million years. But she would have been a serious contender. All right, there my cats are knocking things off. That is how we know that the earth is not flat, because if it were, cats would have knocked everything off the edge by now. All right, here we go. Let's go back here and let's come to this. All right, let's look at this. Wait, what? An Adam Schiff staffer held a secret meeting with former president of the Ukraine during impeachment? Did I hear that correctly? Yes, you did. Let's listen to this.
Sent a House Intelligence Committee staffer to Ukraine during August 24th to 31st. This trip occurred just 12 days after receiving the whistleblower complaint. This is the same week that Adam Schiff posted his Ukraine military aid on August 28th on Twitter. This trip was sponsored by a think tank that receives funding from a program of left-wing billionaire George Soros's Open Society Foundation called Open Society Initiative for Europe. In addition, the think tank Atlantic Council has received funding from Ukrainian gas giant Burisma Holdings.
Oh, well.
The same Burisma Holdings that paid millions of dollars to Joe Biden's son and his firm while serving on their board. Here is Adam Schiff's signature authorizing the travel dated July 22nd. On the trip, they met directly with former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, who lost to the current president Vladimir Zelensky in a landslide 73-25 victory. Poroshenko was known for his strong ties to the Obama administration, specifically Obama's point man for Ukraine, Joe Biden. P.S. The co-founder of CrowdStrike is also a senior fellow of the think tank Atlantic Council. The same names just keep popping up. So for now, Adam Schiff has many questions that he needs to answer about when exactly this trip was put together, what happened on the trip, why was the meeting held with the former president of Ukraine who had been defeated by Zelensky. For now, the House committees have not answered any of these questions.
Well, naturally, they wouldn't answer any of those questions now, would they? But I think Adam Schiff has some splaining to do. Absolutely. And you wait. We'll see him come to justice. I believe that. He is, I don't know. I mean, he just makes up stuff. Like, I don't know anybody that would have that sort of nerve to just make up stuff and swear that it's true. All right, let's go back. Okay, now I'm going to come down here because we're getting shorter on time, but there are some things. I will come back to these that I'm missing, but in another video. But I do want to make sure that we get in what we need to get in here. Now, this is the weirdest thing I've seen in a very long time. Biden has suddenly started claiming he was arrested while visiting Nelson Mandela, but his story doesn't add up. Does his story ever really add up? I mean, think about the story about Corn Pop and kids rubbing the hair on his legs. I'm sorry, I think I threw up a little in my mouth. Anyway, former Vice President Joe Biden has a documented history of making up stories to make him sound more interesting on the campaign trail, and he's up to his old tricks again. In the past 2 weeks, Biden has suddenly started claiming he was arrested in South Africa while on his way to visit Nelson Mandela. As the New York Times reported, Biden didn't include this information in his 2007 memoir and has not spoken about it prominently while campaigning for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. Biden said in South Carolina last week, "I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him on Robbins Island." Yeah. Biden mentioned the arrest twice more in the next week, claiming he was arrested in between attempts to get his wife, Jill, to agree to marry him. That meant the arrest would have occurred in 1977. But if Mr. Biden, then a U.S. Senator from Delaware, was in fact arrested while trying to visit Mr. Mandela, he did not mention it in his 2007 memoir when writing about a 1970s trip to South Africa, and he has not spoken of it prominently on the 2020 campaign trail. A check of available news accounts by the New York Times turned up no reference to an arrest. South African arrest records are not readily available in the United States, the Times reported. Former Congressman Andrew Young, the UN ambassador at the time of Biden's arrest, said he had traveled to South Africa with Biden but was never arrested and was skeptical that members of the U.S. Congress would have been at risk in the country. "No, I was never arrested, and I don't think he was either," Young told the Times. "Now people were being arrested in Washington. I don't think there was ever a situation where congressmen were arrested in South Africa." The Times went on to report that it could not account for all of the details of Mr. Biden's overseas travel during the period that included the South African trip. Further, Biden's campaign didn't respond to 5 efforts from the Times to comment and clarify Biden's remarks. Biden also ended his story by claiming Mandela himself thanked him for getting arrested while trying to visit. Right, that happened. No, it didn't. After he got free and became president, he came to Washington and came to my office, Biden said in Las Vegas. He threw his arms around me and said, "I want to thank you." I said, "What are you thanking me for, Mr. President?" He said, "You tried to see me. You got arrested trying to see me." The Times speculated that Biden has started telling the story to woo African-American voters. Readers may recall that last August, Biden was called out for claiming to have tried to pin a silver star on a Navy captain who claimed he didn't deserve the medal. As the Daily Wire previously reported, Biden's detail about the story constantly changed, and it appears he completely made up the story, as is the case with a lot of his stories. And I'm wondering, I'm just throwing this out there to you guys, but could he be trying to establish the fact that, even though I don't believe he is, that he's senile? I'm wondering if he's doing some of these on purpose so that when he does come under the gun, and he will, then he can claim that he doesn't know what they're talking about and just play like he's delusional, losing his mind, dementia, what have you. I just wonder, because I don't know of too many people that are that stupid. And I don't believe Joe Biden is that stupid either, or he wouldn't have survived this long in the swamp. Really. So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what you guys think, but that is what has crossed my mind, because it just gets weirder and weirder with Biden. Now, let's go back here and let's look at this. What did Biden say this time? Well, let's look. Now he's claiming that his son was the Attorney General of the United States. Right, which is all well and good, except that his son was never the Attorney General of the United States. So where's he getting that from? Let's listen.
As to who they should or should not indict, and under what circumstance they should or should not. That is an independent judgment to be made. My son, my deceased son, was the Attorney General of the United States, and before that, he was a federal prosecutor in one of the largest offices in the country, in Philadelphia. And I tell you what, he wouldn't even talk to me about anything he was doing, his father. And he shouldn't have. And I didn't have any control over either one of those things. But my never direct the Justice Department as to who.
Now, are you as perplexed as I am after listening to that? I mean, that is so easily provable. His son was never Attorney General, either one of his sons. Wow. Yeah, so now you know why I automatically jumped to the conclusion that he is trying to maybe establish that he has dementia or Alzheimer's, some form of dementia. I don't know, but that I have to think that, because why would somebody tell a lie like that anybody could go out and fact check in 2 seconds? Why indeed? All right, now let's go back here. So, and we'll get to this. I think Warren is a little delusional as well, at least here. Let's see here. Now it says, I think there's a 50-50 chance that Donald Trump looks at debating me and doesn't even show up. He ain't that brave. Are you talking about the same Trump that we all know and love? Really? You don't think he's brave? What? You've been smoking some crack, lady. I don't know, but that's crazy. That's delusional. Now let's listen.
Every time somebody tells you a woman can't beat Donald Trump, well, I don't know about a woman, but I'll tell you Elizabeth Warren can beat Donald Trump.
No, she can't.
And if anyone doubts whether or not I can fight him on a debate stage, I think we have the video from Wednesday. I'm ready for that man. By the way, come on, you all live in Las Vegas. This is the place you can put down the betting line. I'm just offering you this. I think there's a 50-50 chance that Donald Trump looks at debating me and doesn't even show up.
Not even her audience
Ain't
believes
that
that.
brave.
You notice that there's not a lot of people standing, cheering, like clapping wildly. Why? Because they know. They know. I don't think anybody can beat Trump. I mean, look what he did to Hillary. Really. Now, Hillary should have been able to go head to head with him and win. Nope. No can do. She should have been, and I say that because, you know, she is a career politician. She has no conscience. She has no, so really, she should have been able to, if anyone could, she should have been able to beat Trump. But she didn't. So let's go back now and see what else we can scare up here. Now, oh, yes, this. We cannot miss this. We cannot. Report, Adam Schiff's impeachment star witness, we all know who that is, you know, the Carmel guy, just signed a 7-figure book deal. Attacking President Trump is a lucrative gig, apparently so. But will it pay in the end? No. The next time some dope asks, why would anyone speak out against Trump if it weren't true, I want to remind them of this and countless other situations just like this. Book deals. This is how people make millions. They resist celebrities by talking down Orange Man bad, and then right after, they get a lucrative book deal. That's precisely what's been happening with one Adam Schiff's star witness during the impeachment sham. So, who's the lucky new millionaire? Marie Yovanovitch attacking President Trump is a lucrative deal. So, news of a 7-figure book deal for the rights to former diplomat Marie Yovanovitch's memoirs is just the latest example of how it's done. Giant corporations controlled by progressives, particularly media companies, are serving as the means for rewarding bad behavior by those who are in a position to sling arrows at those targeted by the liberal leadership, even when they miss their mark. Yovanovitch was most recently the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, appointed by President Barack Obama in 2016. In November 2019, she emerged from a relatively obscure U.S. Foreign Service career as an impeachment inquiry witness called by House Democrats to give testimony that was, in effect, pointless. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, a Boston-based publisher, confirmed on Friday in a news release that it acquired Yovanovitch's planned memoir. Two people familiar with the deal told the Associated Press that it will be worth 7 figures. I doubt that. I doubt that very much. All right, now let's come back here. Now time's a ticking on us, but still got a little bit of time here. Let's see here. Oh, yes, we have to look at this as well. Clinton calls Trump Putin's puppet amid reports of Russian interference in 2020 election. Now, this is from the 21st, so it's a couple days old, but can you believe this, that they're starting this all over again? And, okay, if Bernie ends up being the front runner, which it appears that he will be, possibly, then why would they support Trump over Bernie Sanders, who is an out-and-out communist? I'm just saying, doesn't make sense to me. But that doesn't matter to the Clintons. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. They'll just keep speaking it and keep speaking it, and there'll be a few people that agree and believe it, because that's always the case. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called President Trump Putin's puppet and claimed he can't win without foreign help after a report this week said the intelligence officials are warning of Russian interference in the 2020 election. Putin's puppet is at it again, taking Russian help for himself. Clinton, Trump's 2016 election rival, tweeted Friday, he knows he can't win without it, and we can't let it happen. See, she is so delusional, and she's so, the fact that she lost fractured her ego to such an extent. She has made every excuse in the book as to why she lost, including, oh, Russia was helping him. So now she's at it again, because who knows if she will turn up like a bad penny prior to the election. I don't know. It would not surprise me. But anyway, here's Hillary. Putin's puppet is at it again, taking Russian help for himself. He knows he can't win without it, and we can't let it happen. Kyle Griffin, NBC News, confirms Trump pushed aside his acting director of national intelligence because he was angry that lawmakers were briefed about Russia's plan to interfere in the 2020 election to help Trump, a former intel official briefed on the matter said. Now, you know, you can believe that, choose to believe that or not. I choose not to believe that because it doesn't make sense to me. Her tweet comes in response to reports that Trump chose not to nominate his acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire, on a permanent basis and accused him of disloyalty because of a briefing on election security to the House Intelligence Committee. If Trump decided not to go with him, there's a very good reason why. During the briefing, intelligence officials reportedly told lawmakers that Russia was again interfering in the U.S. election with the goal of helping re-elect Trump. The president was worried that Democrats on the committee would use the intelligence information against him, the New York Times reported. Many Democrats have seized on the new reports to address election security and interference from Russia, hitting Trump for not taking a tougher stance. Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer tweeted Thursday that now we know why Senate Republicans continue blocking election security bills linking to the Times article. They'd rather let Putin win than stand up to President Trump, Schumer tweeted. Oh, Schumer, I will dance, I will shout, I will sing, whatever it takes. When Schumer is out of there, I will be so happy. I will be celebrating. Anyway, Clinton first used the term on the campaign trail, saying that if he won, he would be Putin's puppet, referring to Russian President Vladimir Putin. She has frequently referred to Trump as Putin's puppet since intelligence officials confirmed Russia meddled in the 2016 presidential election in an effort to boost Trump. That is not the case at all. They did not meddle in the 2016 presidential election. But that doesn't matter. They're going to keep reporting it until you believe it. Since the election, Democrats have sought to pass election security bills to protect U.S. infrastructure through House-passed efforts have stalled in the GOP-controlled Senate. Trump dismissed new reports of meddling on Friday as Democratic misinformation campaign. That's exactly what it is. And, you know, this article is extremely biased toward the Democrats. Yeah, I didn't realize the Hill was that biased, but apparently they are. Trump dismissed new reports of meddling on Friday as Democratic misinformation campaign, appearing to break with his own intelligence community. Well, maybe he should break with his own intelligence community. If they're not telling us the truth, then bye-bye. All right, now let's come down here. Now, this is interesting. Victoria's Secret to be sold for $525 million. CEO Les Wexner will step down. Well, when have we heard that name before? Well, in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, because Les Wexner was the one that gave Epstein his place in Manhattan, largest private home in Manhattan, I believe. And he's selling this for $525 million. And yeah, what do you think about that? Now, we do have that further. I am going to catch us up with the Q post tonight as well. So we will come back to this in that. So I will breeze over it for now. Yeah, and let's look at this, which is very, very bizarre report. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg has employees blow dry his sweaty armpits. Well, there's a job I wouldn't want. I'm just saying. For someone I love, perhaps I would blow dry their armpits, although I don't really understand a reason why I would need to. But, you know, I'm just saying. But could you imagine being employed by Mark Zuckerberg and having to blow dry his armpits? No. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg reportedly has members of his communication staff blow dry his armpits ahead of big speeches and other appearances that might cause the tech billionaire to experience flop sweat. The Intimate Details is one of many featured in Facebook, The Inside Story, a new book by Wired Stevens Levy that chronicles the inner workings of the social media giant and the personal quirks of its executive leaders. The book portrays Zuckerberg as being somewhere between naive genius and robotic robber baron, according to a report from Bloomberg, which has reviewed the book. Zuckerberg's problems with perspiration date back to at least 2010, when a widely circulated video showed him sweating profusely on stage at the D All Things Digital conference. Still can't believe I got turned down for this pit drying gig. Zuckerberg is harder to read, ping-ponging in Levy's portrayal between naive genius and robotic robber baron. He too is consumed by his public image. A communications exec is shown blow-drying the CEO's armpits before speaking appearances to eliminate anxiety sweat. All right. Levy's book reportedly portrays Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg as a micromanager who is so obsessed with her public image that she would pretend to be nervous in interviews as a way to elicit sympathy from journalists. The book has garnered enough interest that Facebook spokesperson Liz Bourgeois has publicly denied certain aspects of the text. FWIW, I've staffed a lot of these with Sheryl, as you know, and there's nothing fake about her nerves before big interviews. Most times, no one ever saw it but me, Bourgeois tweeted this month. So, yeah. The spokesperson also told Business Insider that the story of Zuckerberg making his staff blow dry his armpits was probably not true. I doubt this is true, and if so, it would have been at our communications team request, but surely anyone who has ever worn a gray t-shirt can relate, she told the online publication. Well, there you go. Can you relate? I guess if you are on stage in front of people and you're nervous, then yes, I guess it would bleed through your clothes, and I guess that wouldn't make a very positive public, image. But yeah, but I still don't want the gig of blow drying armpits. I'm just saying, I don't want that to be a title on my resume. Armpit blower dryer. I don't know. What would you call that? All right. Now, let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay, now, I think what I'm going to do here, go back here, I've still got, well, no, actually, not that much. So let's take a look at this. How cool is this? Don Jr. is traveling from Phoenix to Las Vegas right now. Center row, coach. Don't let anyone tell you the Trump family doesn't know how real Americans live. Bet you won't be seeing any Democratic presidential hopefuls flying coach. No, you won't. And there he is, and this couple is obviously taking a selfie with him, but he's flying coach. He doesn't demand first class. Nope, flying coach. I think that's awesome and very impressive. Now, let's see. I can't remember what this is, but I think it has to do with the coronavirus, and I'm not going to get into that because I've got a whole other. Yeah, well, I'm gonna cover this just because. Washington Post, Trump furious he wasn't told virus-infected Americans were flown home. So, yeah, President Donald Trump was furious at top advisors over a decision to let 14 Americans who tested positive for coronavirus return to the United States from Japan after he was assured they'd stay in quarantine overseas, the Washington Post reported. Trump and the administration's coronavirus task force were told last Saturday that Americans who'd been in quarantine for weeks aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship would be brought home on 2 chartered planes, but that patients who had symptoms of the infection itself would stay in Japan. Trump was briefed on the decision and agreed that healthy passengers should not be on the plane with sick ones, the Post reported, citing unnamed administration officials. But the State Department and a top U.S. health official ultimately decided to bring back the 14 Americans who tested positive for the virus on the planes and place them in isolation without informing Trump first. Yeah, I'd be pretty miffed too if I were him. Trump learned of the decision after the fact and was angry he wasn't consulted first, complaining that the decision could damage his administration's handling of the response, the Post reported. Trump has since had several calls with top White House officials to say he should have been told that it should have been his decision and that he did not agree with the decision that was made. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, who is running the president's coronavirus task force, led a call Wednesday and told members the president was upset over the decision. The Post reported one senior White House official told the Post not informing Trump of the decision ahead of time was a big operational mistake. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney also was on the call and said the president had to know of such proposed moves in advance going forward. According to the Post, Trump is concerned any big outbreak in the United States could hurt his 2020 presidential re-election bid. He's also been unwilling to criticize China's response to the outbreak and has worried any drastic action by his administration could further spook the markets and hurt the economy. Administration officials are also worried they might not be able to quarantine large numbers of people in the United States if a pandemic breaks out. It's too late, it already has. There have been at least 10 meetings on quarantines in the past 2 weeks, administration officials told the Post. Also, recovered coronavirus patients, they are now finding are still contagious. So once you've recovered, you might be great. You might feel great and be wonderful, but you're still shedding that virus everywhere you go. You're still contagious. So anyway, that is it for that. And I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go back and thank those of you I need to thank. Well, actually, I need to thank all of you because everyone contributes in their own way. And I really do appreciate that more than you know. So let's go back and I'm going to thank the following people. Alice Cersei. I may have thanked her twice, but you know what? I'd rather thank someone twice than not at all. Carol, Anon, Red Rum, B.R., Diane Haney, Annie, now that's what she calls herself, Annie, and Robert Y. Thank you so much for contributing via coffee. I appreciate that, and it does keep the channel going. Patreon picked up 2 new Patreons, and I may have thanked Lady Cernuda before, and again, I'd rather thank someone twice than not at all. So Lady Cernuda and Paul Zelmer, thank you very much, new Patreon supporters, and Snail Mail, woohoo! Solange Sior, I had thanked her before, but I'm thanking her again because she didn't see it. And because she sent me an email asking if I had received. She sent me some naturopathic stuff, and I really appreciate it very, very much. So, Sherry Bellamus, she sent a very heartfelt letter and a Trump commemorative coin. I should have brought it out with me so I could show you, but I didn't. But it's pretty cool. It's a commemorative coin of Trump 2020. Because we know he's going to get it. All right, and also, now this person didn't sign the letter and didn't put their name on the envelope, so apparently they didn't want to be named, but they are from Calgary, Alberta, and Sherry Bellamus is from out west in Canada, so yeah, 2 Canadians. How about that? Anyway, the person from Calgary, Alberta sent a very nice letter and a 1-ounce silver Canadian coin, which I very much appreciate because, a few people have sent me silver and I put it away in my jewelry box and just save that for a rainy day because you all know they're probably coming. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys and I love doing this, and you guys are why I love doing this because I've seen the way other people get really just decimated by their comments, and you guys have always been so kind and prayerful to one another and towards this show. So thank you guys so much. I am going to be back tonight, and that is a promise. I am going to be back. I am definitely going to be back, and I feel all off kilter again. I'm not sure quite how that's happening, but oh well. All right, so that is it for this evening. Now, you guys stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth because deception bites. I'll see you guys in a little while.